Hey everyone, it's Ariel Waldman from Tested. I'm about to share with you my favorite things from 2020. It has been an interesting year, to say the very least. It was an interesting year for me personally though, because I started the year off by giving a TED Talk. And my TED Talk was all about my Antarctic expedition. I spent 5 weeks in Antarctica searching and looking for life underneath the ice. A lot of people, when they think about Antarctica, they think of a place that's barren and lifeless, except for a few penguins. But Antarctica is actually full of life, and that's what my TED Talk is all about. And so my favorite things that I wanted to share with all of you this year are all related around looking at invisible life everywhere, not just in Antarctica, but in your own backyard. So the very first favorite thing that I want to share with you is this. Now, we're used to sharing our favorite new things, but this is actually a pretty old thing. This is an American optical microscope, Series 160, from the 1960s. These microscopes were actually really used a lot in classrooms in the 1960s, and what's cool about them is that because they were so widely used, there's a ton of them available online for purchase. You can get them professionally refurbished from microscope vendors or on eBay. Definitely look for professionally refurbished models so that you know it's been taken care of over the years. But the reason why I like this is because they typically run between $100 to $300, and that really makes it a really good first microscope, or it's a really easy lightweight microscope that you can take between home and work if you want to be geeky like that. They're just a lot of fun, and what I like about them is that they just have all the basic necessities that you need for a really good microscope, and it's really good quality. So love basics include the fact that it's got an iris diaphragm to control the amount of light or contrast that you see in the microscope. It also has a removable eyepiece, which is really important because in a previous favorite things video that I did for Tested, one of my favorite things was a LabCam. And a LabCam is a thing that allows you to attach your iPhone to a microscope. And so actually by using an iFixit kit, which was also a previous favorite thing of mine, you can actually remove the eyepiece here in the microscope and place the LabCam into it. And by doing that, then you can take photos and videos and you transform this 1960s microscope into a really modern microscope, which is just fun. So a lot of basics about it are that, a lot of the ones that I've seen online have between 2 to 4 objectives. The objectives that I personally have on this one are 4, 10, and 43, which is more than enough to see a lot of really awesome microbes. Another important thing to note if you're looking for them online is a lot of them have mechanical stages or stage clips. The stage is the platform that holds the slide. If you get a mechanical stage, it essentially means that you have these little dials on the side that allow you to really finely tune the movement of the slide. If you don't really care about that, that's okay. You can just get the stage clip version. A lot of times those ones are cheaper, and then you just move the slide around with your hands. What I really love about microscopes in general, and why I think you should definitely consider getting a first microscope if you haven't, is because it's not only for looking at really cool science stuff under the scope, but it's also for creating artwork. A lot of Victorian era people created artwork using microscopes. You can create artwork using microscopes. They're not just for science, they're also for art. So the next tool that's really important, that's one of my favorite things, is something that Adam Savage had in one of his videos. He did a video about favorite tools of his calipers, and one of those was around a $20 caliper. And this is really important because I am not a model maker. I'm not usually measuring things to build things very often. But when you get an old microscope, you quickly realize that maybe you want to soup it up. You want to get some replacement parts. You want to replace the bulb. You want to replace different parts of it. And a lot of times you just need very precise measurements to know what sorts of parts to replace it with. This is definitely advanced level in terms of leveling up in microscopy, but you'll probably get there once you get addicted to having a microscope. So having a $20 caliper on hand is actually really useful. And so the final thing that is my favorite thing for 2020, which God knows we need favorite things from 2020 because there's not a whole lot to pick from. It's been a really tough year. But one of my favorite things that will hopefully delight you at the end of the year is this book, Life at the Edge of Sight. This is a really fantastic book because I never anticipated being a microscopist or being into using microscopes a lot. It was something that sort of came about when I was really obsessed with going to Antarctica. But as I got into microscopy and as I got into looking at different microbes underneath a microscope, I really started looking at the world around me differently. Every day when I go out of my apartment, I walk around and I see moss in sidewalk cracks or in parks. And when I do that, I smile because I realize that I'm surrounded by a whole zoo of tardigrades. Tardigrades, you can find them in Antarctica. They're famous for surviving the vacuum of space, but they also live all around us. I actually did a video earlier this year for Tested on how to find tardigrades in your own backyard or in sidewalk cracks. And they're just, I don't know, they're delightful things. They're little gummy bears with claws, I like to say. And they're so much fun. But it's really fun to change your perspective and change your perspective of the world that you walk by every day. And so Life at the Edge of Sight is a really fantastic book that not only shows you a bunch of photos of microbes from slime molds to nematodes, but it also showcases the context at which those microbes live in. All the different weird places in cities and on sidewalks where you see different colored stuff. And in that stuff is a whole world of amazing tiny animals, tiny plants, and tiny weird creatures. And so Life at the Edge of Sight is a really fantastic book for getting into that and for really looking at the world through a different lens. So that's all my favorite things for 2020. I hope to see you all again soon.